All right, let's get the training started. Today we are going to talk about how to import from China and find trustworthy suppliers and make 6, 7, or even 8 figures per year without overwhelming amount of work and without travels. Now I'm going to show you how to do this by showing you how we consistently help Fortune 500 companies for the past 24 years to find best deals in China and maintain a consistent supply of goods. And I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of Fortune 500 companies when buying from China, even when you are just starting. Now, for those of you who don't know me, let me give you a brief introduction of myself. My name is Mark Hong, and I have been working with many of the Fortune 500 companies in the past with their sourcing, merchandising in China, and tons of other smaller companies. I've helped companies like Walmart, Macy's, JCPenney, Target, Sears, and tons of others. I'm the creator of China Sourcing Blueprint for newbie buyers who want to tap into the huge opportunities of importing from China. For the past 24 years, I've been involved in every aspect of the import and export business, moving billions of products around the world. Now, here's what you will learn during this training. I'm going to show you how to buy from China so you can get the best suppliers and not worry about being scammed. I'm going to show you how to buy from China and get the best prices even when you are not a Walmart. I'm going to show you as well how to avoid getting poor quality products so you can finally sleep at night knowing your products will be delivered exactly the way you want so you can serve your customer and make them happy. And also going to show you a new way to get consistent supply of product from the best suppliers in China. Now, why is this important to you? Because what most gurus teach you about buying from China is that wrong. They tell you to go to one of those B2B platforms, which yes, it does give you some easy access, but the overwhelm is absolutely amazing. Just sorting through them is such a pain in the ass. In fact, if you talk to any experienced importer and exporter, I can guarantee you that none of them are buying from those B2B platforms. In fact, all the suppliers I work with are never to be found on these platforms. So knowing where to buy can take you years to figure out, especially if you are not in China day in and day out. On top of that, getting quality products at the right price and avoid being scammed is so important, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So, who is this training for? If you are an importer and you want reliable suppliers from China, this is for you. And if you are thinking about buying from China and want to make sure you are starting correctly, this is for you. If you want to have better profits, beat the pants off of your competitors, this is definitely for you. If you want to get the best quality out of China, this is for you. If you want to make sure you won't get scammed buying from China, this is for you. And if you need consistent product supply and you want to have big profits, this is definitely for you. And if you are worried about buying from China because all the fraudulent stories you have ever heard, well, this is definitely for you because you are going to discover the best practice that will save you tons of money, time, and resources. And most importantly, make your business very profitable. Okay, a little housekeeping first, boys and girls. Now, this is not one of those do nothing and get paid type of training. If that's what you're looking for, you might as well just sign up now. Okay, we are not going to tell you anything about that. In fact, I'm a strong advocate of doing everything legally, and there are just so many ways you can make money legally. There's no need to knock off other people's ideas, other people's products. That's, to me, just not the way to go. Okay, and by the way, my results are not typical. I've been doing this for a long time. In fact, you should know that most people who buy any how to do something type of training will not make any money whatsoever. Okay, just like, if you want to lose weight and you join a gym and you never show up, well, chances are you are not going to lose that weight. Okay, so I just want to make sure, make that very clear. Now, I have a confession to make. I do have a advantage over most people. I have been doing this for a long time. This year marks my 24th year in the import and export business. Yes, I do speak the language. Yes, I do have a huge network of suppliers that I work with on a day-to-day basis. So yes, I do have a little advantage. But if you think because of that, I started off doing this import business and just with a big bang and all rainbow colors, well, let me tell you. In fact, I used to go to trade shows every year, and I had this guy from Argentina that used to come up to me every year and ask me, say, "Hey, what are you still doing here, Mark? I mean, with your language and with all the stuff that you know, you should be like a multi-billionaire by now." And let me tell you, I wish that was the truth, but no, it wasn't anything like that. In fact, let me tell you how I got started. Now, I'm an immigrant kid, and by the time I was 16, well, I was born in Asia, and then we moved to South America, and I spent most of my childhood in the States. So I had terrible grades growing up school. In fact, my parents were called to school a couple of times a semester for not doing my homework and getting to all sorts of different type of trouble. And college was no different. In fact, I was a complete failure. It took me 6 years to finish what most people would finish their first 2 years of curriculum. And then I finally decided to drop out because I wasn't about to spend another 10 years getting my college degree. I started out doing a whole bunch of businesses, and I failed. I failed in every single one of them. And then I bought into all this get rich quick type of stuff. Not because I wanted to do that, just because those were the only thing available to me at the time, and I thought they were good, great ideas. So I did a whole bunch of that, and then finally I lost all my money doing get rich quick stuff, and I was 45,000 in debt, and I decided to pack up and move to Asia. I had no friends, no job, and I barely spoke the language. You gotta know my brother and I, because our parents were very busy doing business. So at home, we either spoke Spanish or English. So I'm at this all-time low. I remember waking up at night and staring at the wall and just cry. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do with my life. And well, that was my turning point. I finally decided that if I were to ever make anything out of myself, I had to put my foot down and stick to one thing and become an expert at it. So I went out there and I started getting looking for jobs, and well, got figured. The only company that would take me was an import and export company because all the job experience that I ever had was with import and export. So I started working and then seeking advice from experts that spoke the language, understood the culture and the infrastructure. And not only that, they had to have a proven track record of 10 plus years in the industry and a lot to show for. And I decided to commit to these real professionals who understood the market and live and breathe on a daily basis. I invested time and money with these experts, and then I committed to following their teachings to the letter. None of those fake expert stuff, right? And I started seeing results. So before you know, very quickly, I helped my first company from basically start from zero and build to a $30 million company in just 4 years. And then I went on to help another company in 2 years and so on. And that started my entire exciting career of import and export. So why China? Well, just the other day I was reading something on a stat, and did you know that $96 billion will be spent for this holiday season in the US alone? And then 51% of those will be bought online. So you have a huge opportunity here. And number one, China is the biggest export country in the world. So a lot of products will be built there. So you have a lot more resources buying from China. For example, like the R&D, it's very fast in China. And if you have an idea and you want to build something, there's no better place than in China. And also you get a big price discount and the delivery is super fast, okay, because all these resources that are pouring in China and all the logistics and everything like that. So China is definitely a place of huge opportunity for you right now. Now, there are some weaknesses as well. One of the biggest weakness is the big quality difference. And a lot of people are afraid of buying from China because of all the quality problem that they face. I'm going to show you how to overcome that. Another thing is the location segregation, because China is such a huge country. And in order for you to find the right suppliers, you really got to know where to buy certain stuff. China, they want to control everything because obviously the population and the size of the country, the government keeps very tight control on industry and whatnot, right? So everything is segregated. So if you want to buy accessory jewelry, you have to go to one place, right? Like for example, EU, right? And if you want to buy textile stuff or electronic stuff, then Shenzhen is a much better place to do it. So there are a lot of stuff that you got to figure out about the logistics as well, how to coordinate everything together, and that's a little bit complicated if you haven't done it before. But don't worry about it, okay? And then there's also suppliers who overestimate their capability. A lot of times they're so eager to have your business that they will promise you the world. They tell you, yes, I can do this, I can do that, no problem. But the fact is, if you don't check them out ahead of the time, a lot of time that's gonna turn out to be more trouble than it's worth it. And I'm gonna show you how to do that as well. Now I have chunked down to these 5 steps on starting a profitable import business. And your first step is the recon-mission. You got to find out where are the suppliers and find the trustworthy supplier, right? The reliable suppliers. So one of the things that is very deeply rooted in the Chinese culture is that 关系. And here's the Chinese word. 关系 basically means that that relationship. Okay, so you will always, whenever you are talking to a Chinese person, a lot of time you'll find them talking about, oh wow, I have relationship with this governor, right? I know the president of what? I know some powerful people here and there, and they'll tell you they have all this 关系. And because in China, in order for you to do business, a lot of time it's not about how smart you are, or how you can how you can promise them the world. It's more about, well, who do you know? Okay, so 关系 is very important. So on your recon-mission, you got to know how to do that. And the second step is your evaluation process. Like you want to know, since you are so far away, right? You want to know how to evaluate this supplier. So make sure that they are good suppliers and you will not be scammed. And the next step is the production process. A lot of guru will lead you to believe that, oh yeah, give you some tactics on how you negotiate with them. And the fact is, they are thinking like a Westerner. And a lot of times, if you don't know, you're gonna walk into booby traps that is gonna backfire. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how to do it from a manufacturer perspective, so it will turn out to be a win-win situation for both of you. And then the shipping and delivery, you gotta know how to ship it, what's the best way to ship it, so you will get the product fast and you'll save money shipping. Last thing is how you sell it and how you profit from it. Very important, right? And I'm gonna show you a new way you can do it that will help you grow your business exponentially. So our first step is the recon-mission. Now, in order to find the right supplier, you got to ask yourself 3 questions. First, where can you find them? Second, what kind of supplier works best for you? And third, what must you do before you work with them? So, where can you find them? Well, a lot of gurus tell you to buy from B2B sites. And just like I told you before, this is not the best way of doing it. In fact, most experts don't go to B2B sites to do business, and most of the good suppliers are not on the B2B side. So what is a better option? Well, one of the better options that you can do is contact the trade offices, like the Taiwan Trade Office, the China Trade Office, the Hong Kong Trade Association. Those people can lead you and give you a list of highly qualified people, highly qualified supplier, reliable suppliers that you can work with, right? And you can just call these offices anywhere in the world. They basically have all these offices around the world to help the suppliers find buyers. So not only that, because they receive a lot of government subsidy to help business in these countries. So a lot of time they can give you a lot of resources that you wouldn't be able to find. So you'll be able to find better suppliers, more reliable suppliers there. And then you want to start building a network with them because all the resources that they can give you, and that's going to help you a lot along the way with your import effort. Now, what kind of suppliers should you look for? Well, you have heard people say buy from source, right? They will tell you, yeah, you want to buy from factory and things like that. Well, the fact is, that's a real myth. Unless you are doing container upon container loads of products or buying, most of the factories won't give you the time of the day. Not because they are bad people or anything, but simply because they cannot work with smaller volume. Okay, factory runs a very complex system, and in order to keep up with the production line and things like that, they much prefer to work with large volume. And if you are building your own products, or you are just buying something readily available, then those are two very different approaches. Now, the evaluation process. Now, what must you do prior to working together with the Chinese supplier? Now, first thing is you want to get samples, okay? You want to make sure that your samples are okay, you like them, and everything's okay before you want to work with them, right? That's quite simple. Another thing is you gotta reference check them. Now, obviously, you're halfway around the world. Reference checking them, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but if you build a good network of people within the industry, then you can use that network and do the reference check among yourselves, right? Now, another good thing about doing reference check is a lot of times you'll ask this factory for reference check and they'll give you some of the biggest customer that they work with, okay? And that's also another way of qualifying them and knowing that, okay, what kind of capability they have and what can you do to leverage that, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that. Another thing is you got to be careful. A lot of them operate on overseas business unit. And basically what that does is, well, because in China, there's still such a thing as currency control. So because all this international trade nowadays, a lot of time it's very difficult to get money out of China, right? Well, what I mean by difficult is you got to pay a huge amount of taxes. So in order not to do that, a lot of business owners, they will have a separate bank account overseas. And the problem with that is if you ever to have any type of dispute and you want to take them to court in China, there's nothing you can do to link them up together. And then, there's nothing they can do. So you will be at a complete loss, basically. Okay, so if you were to do that, first of all, you got to make sure that they have a registered business license. They'll send you that, right? And then you want to make sure that they give you an affidavit. Make sure that you link whatever transaction you have to their main office in China, okay? Another thing is you got to find out about their capability. You can do that, okay, what they can produce, what they cannot, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, all that goodies, right? And also you want to make sure that you have all the working terms, all the agreements dotted, okay? So for example, when I first started my audio business back in 2010, I got the support of this huge factory in China who was making and selling something like 80 to $100 million worth of audio equipment in China at the time. And so for a small potato like myself approaching them, it was a little bit difficult, right? But so here's what I did. I identified where they were having trouble selling. Now, this company, obviously, they were building a lot of awesome products, awesome equipment, but they don't know how to do international sales. So they were struggling in North and South America. So I made a plan on how they are going to benefit by working with me. And I also, during one of the trade show, brought a couple customers with me. And then I'll say, hey guys, let's set up an appointment. Let's go talk to these guys, right? And I'll help you. I'll help you expand this market. So I made up a plan, and then I show them where the customers are and how I'm ready to make a sale for you if you can provide the quality my customers want. Okay, and by doing that, I got tons of samples and free tooling simply by demonstrating a market knowledge they didn't have. So they were so eager to work with me, and I got a whole bunch of resources and a whole bunch of support from them. So let me give you some tips about samples. Now, most of the factories will give you free samples. Okay. Now, if you establish yourself as a serious buyer, then they will want to support you. Once you got their samples, now what you want to do is you want to ship them by air, because seriously, I mean, you look at, right, if you're at Walmart and you want to a buyer from Walmart and you want to buy some products, right, and you are evaluating the sample, now would you tell them, say, well, let's send it by regular mail, and so it's cheaper and whatnot, right? You wouldn't do that. So you want to get those products fast. You want to evaluate them rapidly, and then so you can move your business forward, right? So act like a serious buyer, okay, and you will get serious treatment. Now, so you want to ship them by air. Very simple. Just give them like a FedEx account or UPS account, DHL, whatever, right? And say, okay, here's my account. Send it to me. Okay, so you can evaluate fast, and you will also be able to save a lot of time, right? So do this right, and you'll get amazing support from your suppliers. Okay. Now, let's have a little fun with numbers. This happened to me a while ago, but I have this good friend, Jerry, and then he lives in this pretty upscale neighborhood in Tampa, Florida, right, with all these golf courses and stuff like that. Very nice neighborhood. And so Jerry had a neighbor, and one day they were talking, and as it turned out, his neighbor was a buyer for Ford. And Ford at the time was buying some sign markers for their vehicles. And if you don't know what sign markers are, they are those blinking lights that goes on the side of the cars. And used to be that was illegal in the U.S. But anyway, so they opened it up, and Ford was buying it. So Ford was buying it for like $32.50 a piece from Germany. Pretty expensive, right? So they were buying 1 million pieces that year. So that was something like $32.5 million of spending for Ford. And then so Jerry was talking to his neighbor, and then say, well, yeah, you know what? I know this guy, Mark, and then yeah, he can probably hook us up with some good supplier in China. Maybe they can, give you better prices. So I called a few suppliers, and then one of them was actually the factory that was building this product for the company in Germany. And then so they sold this product at $2.30 a piece. Now, that's a difference of $30.20 a piece, right? Quite a bit. Times 1 million pieces, that's $30.2 million. Okay, so I hooked Jerry up with this factory in China, and Ford ended up saving $30 million plus, right? And obviously, I didn't know that they were buying for $32.50, and so yeah, they end up cutting Jerry like a check for like $3.2 million, which was quite nice. And I give all the credit to Jerry because he pulled it off, right? And yeah, that's my classic story of giving away a winning lottery ticket. But I love Jerry to death. He's one of my best friends, and I'm very happy that he pulled it out. So let me tell you, the trick of making it work is that you got to understand how the factory work, and make the offer relevant to their weakness that they have, and you can write along what they are already doing. So let's say, right, if you were to come to me and you want to buy some product I'm already selling it to Walmart, well, it's quite simple. I mean, if I like you, if we work together, I'll be more than happy to give you the same price as Walmart, right? You will help me build volume and then also build my credibility with my suppliers. And it's a win-win situation for everybody. And also, you don't want the factories to go out their ways to make it for you because that's going to be very expensive. Get to know what resources they have available so you can take advantage of that and help them and help yourself. And also, when you are talking to them, make sure you propose something substantial. You don't want to talk to them about 10 pieces, 100 pieces, something like that, right? Well, I mean, obviously, depending on what type of products you are buying. But, you want to offer them something substantial. That way will help you get better prices. One of the things is whenever I'm just starting with a new supplier is I will calculate my entire volume for the year. And I'll go and then talk to them and say, hey, listen, I'm buying 10,000 pieces. And what kind of prices can you give me, right? They'll give you some price that are more competitive, better. And once I get that price, I say, okay, well, let's start trying a couple samples. Make sure that you can deliver as you say you would. Then if my customer happy, then we'll roll out with a much bigger volume. Okay, so that's one of the tactics that I use, and it's very, very useful. This one simple strategy helped me offset my entire initial cost of whenever I start a business. What else is there? Well, you want to know their production schedule so you can write along, right? So they are not producing something just for you. Okay, producing smaller batch is going to be very expensive. Another thing is, do they have readily inventory or not? Now, if you are buying some commodity products, then it's much better if you buy someone who already has inventory. Okay, that way you don't have to stock them and you can keep a consistent supply of products. If you were to build them, normally the lead time could take you 45 to 60 days, depending on the products that you are making or doing. Okay, so you will cut down your lead time, and then you will have a consistent of goods. Now let's talk a little bit about the production process. What do you want to know before you commit to a supplier? The first thing is you want to do a factory survey. If you are not traveling there, then you can either do it yourself or you can hire someone professional to do it for you. It's a very important step. Don't skip it because many suppliers, like I said, will claim to have the ability to produce anything under the sun. And a lot of time that's going to hinder you with your project. It could delay your project, and it could be very expensive if you already put in your resources and it turns out that they cannot deliver. You not only wasted a lot of money, you wasted a lot of time opportunity. What else before you place your order? Well, what are the production process for your products? You got to find out, what inspection points should your products have, right? And you want to make sure that it's detailed out to the factory, and you want to finalize the price and payment term. Sometimes some shady supplier will give you one really attractive quotation, but when the comes to the time of buying, they will tell you, oh yeah, the labor cost just went up, the exchange rate is different. They give you a whole bunch of excuses to change the price, and you don't want that because that's also going to help make you lose a lot of time and money. Now about payment terms, you can either do letter of credit or TT in advance. Most of the factories in China will not take PayPal or credit cards or anything like that. In fact, most of the country don't use any type of credit card. They still use, most of them still use debit cards, right, with the password and all that. Okay, even when they are out at the store. So um, it's very likely that they will not be able to take credit card. And so if you are using a letter of credit, it's actually, it will give you better protection because your banks will protect you in many ways. And but if you're doing a very small shipment, then letter of credit probably is too much trouble. What you want to do is just send them TT in advance. And what I normally do is I'll negotiate with the factories, and I will do a 1/3 when they start with the production, another third at the end of the production, and another third before the shipment arrives to the port. Okay. Now normally I will pay like a week or so before the shipment comes into port, because that way I'll have enough time to prepare the documents and get everything clear, so it will not be there at the dock sitting there and then collecting storage, right? Make sure that you sign contract with your supplier that everything is protected. Okay, sign your contract both in Chinese and English, like I said, because that's the only way that you'll be able to protect yourself. Get it translated into Chinese if you need. Then you can just hire someone like a VA on Odesk or Elance. It's very simple, right? And Chinese contract are not that complicated. A lot of time you can just draft something out in English, and a couple pages is good enough. And you want to get it notarized. Okay, very important. This helps you to protect your money and make sure that you get what you ask for before you pay them. Now, let's talk a little bit about quality control process. Let me give you 5 tips to get top quality products from China. Number 1, make sure that you have very clear communication. Number 2, you got to be able to close that gap in the communication. Number 3, you got to be able to establish your standard operating procedure. Make sure that you have everything followed exactly the way you want. And you want to leave nothing to chance, because that's going to give you a lot of trouble if you just leave it up to them. Okay, think of them as 2 years old. They know nothing, and you have to take them everything step by step. And number 5, and I have to stress this again, is to have your contract in Chinese. Make sure whatever that you have agreed on, it is written in contract. Okay, so having a clear communication. First of all, you want to have samples of exactly what you want delivered to the factory, so they have something that they can see and they can reference on. Okay, if you are building something of your own, then by all means, build the prototype in your own country, where somewhere you have more control, that you can get that done fast and to the quality you want before you send it to China. Don't try to get the Chinese factory to do the prototype for you, because that's an absolute nightmare. And you want to avoid that as much as possible. Now, they have very good R&D ability, but they're just not the most creative people. One time I was building something in China, and then I just needed to make some side panels for my product. Very simple panel, right? So I figured, well, both sides are identical, and so I just give them a drawing of one side, and they can just sort of just do it on the other side, right? And when I got the sample back, I was completely shocked. Okay, they used their ability to become creative, and then they did something completely just out of ordinary. They took my logo on one side and completely mirrored it on the other side, flipped it around, and it was a completely different logo. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this thing, right? And I just wasted a couple months building that sample. So you don't want to do that, okay? You want to make sure you have everything prototyped in your own country before sending it to them. If you are building something of a commodity, well, you can buy something from your own competitor or something, right? And then so they have something to reference on, okay? Now, couple checkpoints, well, 3 checkpoints. Number one is the mock-up. The factory, once they receive your prototype, what they do is they want to mock up something similar, something like that, the same, right? Make sure that they have this thing mock up done and send it to you. You can, after you receive it, you approve it before you move on. And the next step is you want to make sure to have a pilot run. Now, pilot run is the factory process of knowing what they're going to do to produce the product. So after the pilot run, they will probably have 20, some are, depending on the item, but they will have very, very few pieces built. Okay, make sure they send a few samples to you so you can double check, make sure that it's ready before you go on to the mass production. Okay, then closing the gap. Okay, this is where most people fail at. They assume that the factory understands what they are doing, and that's a big no-no. Every point must be checked and confirmed prior to the production, okay, prior to basically paying them and have products delivered. And that's just the way it goes. There are 3 major differences when you're working with a Chinese supplier. The obvious one is the language, right? Yeah, they usually have somebody that speaks somewhat English to communicate with you, but when they are relaying their message to the workers at the factory, they might not understand that well, and they will have a complete different idea of how that thing is going to work. Okay, so you want to make sure you close that gap. Another thing is a cultural difference. Something that's acceptable in the Western world might not be, the other way around. Something that's not acceptable in the Western world might be acceptable with the Chinese culture. For example, a lot of time they will look at something and say, oh yeah, that finish looks pretty good. That's just a tiny little scratch. Well, if it's under the light, you won't be able to see. To them, that's perfectly okay, right? But if you are in the Western countries, that's not okay. You're going to get customers complaining, all this and that. So you want to make sure that you have very, very good understanding of what quality should be, or any other process, right? And the infrastructure is different. Like, for example, the factories gets charged tax before product goes out of the factory. So, take that into consideration. That might affect your costs as well. Okay, and if they are an experienced supplier, they will know what to do with that. Okay, so you want to make sure that all the infrastructure differences are covered as well, logistics differences, all the government regulations and stuff, right? Now let me give you a story and you know what I'm talking about. I have this friend Li Yang who runs a very large factory facility in China, right? And they build LED lights for stage. Okay, so very, very high-tech product. Basically, if any type of dust runs into their production, could mean disaster for their product quality. So Li Yang hired this new janitor to clean up the factory, and we were walking along, and we got to a restroom, and he noticed that the restroom was like filthy, right? So he was really, really pissed, and he was like, he called this janitor over and said, "What the hell? I mean, you have to keep this place clean, like, didn't I tell you to do this, do that, right?" And the guy just looked at him and like he was like completely lost, right? Like a deer looking into a headlight. And he was like, "But I just cleaned it. I mean, this is cleaner than my bed sheet." And that's when it hit me, like, wow, there are actually differences in between our understanding. So that's why you have so many different type of problems, right? And something that's acceptable to you might not be acceptable to them. So you kind of have to have everything laid out and make sure that that doesn't happen, right? It's not as complicated as you think. Just do it a couple times and you get used to it. Not trying to scare you over here, but that's just the way it goes in when you're working with a Chinese supplier. Okay, now know this: all buyers have been lied to and mistreated by someone, and I understand that. Okay, a lot of time what really happened is just that miscommunication. All factories have been lied to and mistreated by someone as well. Okay, so they will also feel like they got the short end of the stick if the communication wasn't done properly. Okay, if you don't address these differences head on, then you are going to get screwed. I can guarantee you that. But when you do address them, you get amazing suppliers, you build great relationship, and you get fantastic products. And ultimately, that's going to help you make a lot more money. That's why we leave nothing to chance. Okay, so you want to establish your standard operating procedure with them. Factory runs a very complex system. They have to go through all different type of testing, all different type of procedure. Now, one production line can have as many as 40, 50 people with many different inspectors along the way, right? And so you want to make sure that every point is covered. Okay, every person needs to know exactly what to do in order to produce a product, and that's just how factory operates. Let me show you one of the production flowcharts that we have, the standard operating procedure, so you get an idea how it goes. And basically, it starts off from the moment the materials get into the warehouse and how it gets checked before it's put into inventory, until how it's treated before it goes into the production line. Go through all the process, what happens if it did not pass the inspection points, and then what happens after it passes the inspection point, which next point it goes to, etc., until what is the packaging process at the end, and what it do with the random checks. If it's good, goes where. If it's not good, goes somewhere else. What it do if it's not reworkable, and then if something shall happen, what do you do to do a full checkup on every single piece and things like that, and before it goes out of the door to the customer. So it looks pretty complicated, but I mean, don't get overwhelmed by it. Just do it a couple times and you get used to it, and it's not that difficult to do. Okay, so make sure you leave nothing to chance. If it's necessary, get an interpreter. Okay, there are VAs available that you can hire for very, very cheap, $10, $15 an hour, and have them help you with the translation, right? Help them, have them communicate the factory for you. You want to make sure that you review all the documents before you give them okay, and you want to keep dual language copies. So if something shall happen, then there are both languages, okay? Then you are covered by both, okay? And match everything carefully. That's very, very critical, okay? So not only that, when you do that, you demonstrate how good you are. And when you demonstrate how good you are, you'll gain their respect, and you'll have better price, smoother delivery, and you'll have more profit, less problem, right? Now let's talk about shipping and delivery. So what should you know about shipping and delivery? Well, there are basically two types that you should consider: air shipment or ocean shipment. If you are shipping something really small in volume and really light, by all means, ship by air, because you'll get it within a week, and then that's going to help you keep your inventory low and give you a lot of flexibility, right? If you are buying something bulkier, or if you are buying a larger volume, then you want to consider shipping by air. There are basically two options. One is by loose container load, the other one is by full container load. I highly recommend that you work with a forwarder that speaks Chinese. Then that way, if you have some type of problem, your freight forwarder can communicate with China for you. Okay, that's going to save you a lot of trouble on delivery. Another thing is you got to know your product category. Knowing the correct HTS code can save you tons on duty. So if you have one HTS code, for example, if you're shipping garment, right? If it's let's say 60% silk, 40% polyester, you don't want to claim it as 100% silk, because that's going to be more expensive, right? But if you don't know that and you say, well, it's silk shirt, then you end up paying more duty than you should. So get a good custom broker, then they will help you with that stuff, right? Another thing is you want to work with a supplier that's familiar with exporting to your country. That way they know all the rules, regulations, documents necessary, so you can make sure you can be sure that when the products arrive, it's not going to give you more trouble. And insurance, okay. Now, I personally never done insurance before. Out of 24 years I been in the industry, there was only one time that I had one problem. Okay, there was like a container had a little bit of leak and the water got into it. Okay, that's it. So I personally don't do it, but if you want to do it, yeah, why not? I mean, just for the first couple shipments, make sure that you got everything down right before you make another decision. That's my recommendation. Okay, very quickly, I'm gonna give you a little tips on selling and profits. Okay, obviously, most of you are doing your business online, and then you're building more of a B2C business. Now, if you are going to get continuous support from your factory, okay, what should you know? Okay, you got to build volume. Okay, and it's actually not that hard. If you are getting factory prices, and then you can build that kind of volume for them, you'll get a lot more support down the road. So for example, if you want to build volume and you are doing well with your B2C business, what you can do is you can actually take the product, right, and you can sell them to Central and South America, or whatever country that you want actually, and sell them to distributors. Okay, build your distribution channel. Now it's very simple. It will be just like drop shipping. Okay, you get an order, right, and then you would just send them to your factory and have them ship it for you. Okay, it's not much work, and it's just distributors buys in large amount, especially in Central and South America, right? They will always look at Amazon or eBay and things like that and get a feel on prices. Okay, so if you can get them something, you can either ship them from the U.S. or just ship them from China, right? They will probably buy in containers anyway, so it will help you build a lot of business as well, and you don't have to do anything basically to get that business. Okay, nothing extra. Cool. So how many people here feel like this will give you an immediate boost tomorrow and build your import business? Well, I want to see a lot of your hands go up because, yep, if you do this correctly, it's going to help you do it very, very quickly. Once you understand how it works, you can create wealth in any product category that you want. Okay, imagine this. You start a network of trusted suppliers in 30 days or less. You get unlimited support from your supplier, so you can have quality products built anytime you want. And you will get products delivered to your warehouse exactly when you want, the way you want. Then finally, having a consistent way of getting high quality products without any overwhelm and travels, right? And you'll have the highest profit than anyone, so you can expand your import business infinitely. So if you are someone who really want to make tons of profit and deliver great products to your marketplace, you might be wondering how you can implement all the tactics and strategy I just showed you quickly and easily. Well, clearly, everybody knows that buying from China will make you a lot more competitive and make you tons of money. Just look at how many companies out there are buying from China. That's why you are really smart to start importing from China right now. Okay, listen, I'm not going to get all hyped up and try to get you all hyped up about what this is and how this can help you. You have listened to me, you have heard my story, and you know what I'm saying can help you. What I just showed you is the exact system I have personally used to find the best suppliers and prices from China. And if you'd like me to help you implement everything we have gone over, I'll be delighted to. And here's how we will do it. So, as part of this training, I'm giving you a bonus for attending this webinar. I'm going to give you an import clarity session for free where we'll get on the phone, we'll talk about 30 to 45 minutes, and we'll figure out exactly where you're at the moment with your import business, and we'll come up with a plan of attack so you know exactly where to take your business quickly in the next few days. Now, all you have to do is click on this link. We'll take you to a form, and you just have to fill up the question in there. Don't worry about it. It's nothing complicated. Very simple question. I just want to know what products you want to sell or what product you are already selling, and then do a little bit of research for you, and we'll get on the horn. All right, and we'll determine what works best for you, and come up with a plan of attack. So, here is something I think are probably true about you. If you are anything like me and you are here with me right now, you are listening to this webinar and you know buying from China is a good idea. And if you do this approach, it's probably going to help you do well with your import business. That's why I have allocated some time to do this import clarity session. So if you want to build a great network of awesome suppliers, get great products, get tons of profit starting right now. If you want to increase your sales, if you want to increase your profits, if you want to get quality products delivered to you without any headaches or hustles, build massive amount of goodwill with your customer so they will come back again and again, and you can sell like crazy starting right now. This is specifically designed for you. Here's how we will do it. We'll get on the phone for about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll find out exactly what kind of products you want to do. We'll lay out a specific plan on how you can approach. And you can ask me any question you want during our session. You are getting the exact system that I use to help Fortune 500 companies to find their products and get their suppliers. And the price is free. So you won't be sold anything during the session. All you will have is a clear understanding on what to do next to start importing right away. And I'll make it even better. I'll answer any question you might have about importing and point you to the right direction right from the start so you can start successfully and do it well. All you gotta do is click on the link or go to the link and fill out a form. Don't worry, there's nothing complicated about it. I won't be asking you any of those weird questions. All I want to do is find out what you do and what kind of product you sell, and so I can do a little bit of research ahead of time before we talk. Then I'll contact you, and then together we'll figure out a plan on what to do next. You will learn how to build a network of awesome suppliers, make tons of profits, build trust with your customers, and have a quality product that will sell like crazy, starting right now. What you got to do to apply for the session is just go to this address, click on the button right next to it, or open up your browser and type in the web address and fill out a simple form. And we'll get on the horn. And you know what? It will get even better if the products you are looking for is something that I already am selling to the big chain companies. So I'll be able to get your products at the big chain prices. How about that, huh? So here's my ultimate guarantee to you. You will have everything to gain and nothing to lose. I got nothing to sell you here. And there's no wiggle clauses, no shenanigans. And all we are doing here is get on the horn. We'll talk for about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll find out exactly what products are right for you or what products you want to do. And we'll lay out a complete plan for you. You can ask me any question you want during our session. I must warn you, I'm opening up to the public very soon. By end of the month, I'm already booked to speak in front of 5,000 people. And so the time is very limited here. As you can see, this is the fastest way for you to get started on your import business and do well. And plus, there's nothing to sell, so you got everything to gain and nothing to lose. Like I said, the time is limited. and I can only speak to about 10 people a week. So if you want to do this, you want to do it right now. You have watched this entire presentation. You want a profitable import business that brings you tons of profit. And you know this is an excellent chance. So take advantage of this incredible offer. You simply cannot lose. All right. So boys and girls, thank you very much for attending this training today. And I look forward to speak to you very soon.